Hey guys, Andy here. So I've held back from buying a 4K TV for quite a while now. You know, they're not a new thing. They've been around for, I don't know, 2 years, maybe even 3 years. But I suppose I've been I thought, well, there's just not enough content out there to warrant moving up to 4K for the price that you would have to pay. And actually, let me start off by just talking a little bit about what 4K is. It won't take a moment. It's all about the resolution, basically, of the screen. So here we have my little diagram. 1080p is what you call regular HD as we know it now. There is 720p, that just means that that bit's 720 pixels. And that's what we're talking about here, is the pixels, 1080 by 1920. So that's HD. 4K goes out to 2160 by 3840. So it's twice as wide and twice as high. Now, it's not, is it? Because I've 40-inch TV that's 10K is 40-inch that's 4K. They're the same size, but obviously it just means that all those pixels are crammed in and you get much higher pixel density. So you could argue that is it really noticeable unless you go for a massive big like 65-inch TV? I'm not entirely sure. I don't know. This one obviously is 43-inch. I don't know that it makes it that much difference, but the thing that really sort of kind of swung me, as well as the price is coming down now. So this particular one cost me $579, or it is listed at $579 on John Lewis at the moment. But I wanted the HDR as well. So there is a bit more content coming out now. So we upgraded our Netflix to the £10 a month option and to get the 4K content. And there's quite a few titles that do 4K, but the HDR was what sort of, I think, really interests me. And again, what's HDR? High dynamic range. So we've had it in cameras for quite some time. If you go back, I don't know, 5 years or so, I think you had to do it manually. So if you had a DSLR camera, you would take 3 different pictures at different exposures. So if you've ever taken a photo of a subject but with a bright background like the sky, very bright sky, the camera has to make a choice of where does it want the detail. Does it want the detail in the sky so you can see all the clouds or whatever in the sun, or does it want the detail in the people or the subject downground that's actually sort of not as bright? And you would normally do that. Let's say you do it on your phone. You do that by tapping on what you want it to focus on. And you've probably seen, if you tap on the sky, everything else down below goes like really dark. If you tap on the people, then the sky just turns kind of white and you don't see much. But with high dynamic range, to rewind to what I was saying, you would take 3 different photos. One where you would have the detail in the sky and the foreground and the subjects were very dark, you didn't see much detail. One kind of an in-between, and then one where the detail was seen in the subject and the sky was just blown out and was just white. And then using software or whatever, you would basically take the best bits from each photo to get one photo that had all of the detail. Now in this day and age, phones can do that for you. You turn on HDR mode, and the theory being it takes loads of like multiple photos across different exposures and then builds together the best looking picture. So how does that convert to a TV? It basically means that it can give you a better detail in the different areas. So you don't get the blown out sky and the detail in the dark, or vice versa. You get the detail in the sky and the detail in the people. How does it do that? Well, from what I've read, so I'm no expert, but I've done a little bit of reading up. A big part of it is to do with the brightness of the TV. And definitely I've noticed that with well, I bought 2 TVs at the time. Definitely the one in the living room where if the curtains are open, the sun's shining through. I didn't used to be able to see what the hell was on the screen, but with the new one, it's so much brighter. And apparently they are sort of 3 to 4 times brighter, going up over 1,000 nits or lux or whatever. That's a big factor, that it can be that much brighter. Also, the amount of colours it can show. I find it hard to believe, but again, I was reading that it says there's 60 times more colours in an HDR TV than the sort of old standard 1080p TVs. I mean, what, you've 60 times more. So if there was, I don't know, 1 million before, there's 60 million now. And I don't know if those are just numbers I made up. That's a big difference. But I think it's the HDR that really makes. So I've not actually watched a lot of 4K content on these on the 2 TVs. Obviously, we're talking about the Sony now, but I do now understand when some people say, oh, it's too real. It's actually too real. It kind of almost breaks your immersion in what you're watching, because it seems like it's an actual real, I don't know, the image, it's really hard to explain. And I think it is the brightness, actually. That's one thing that's kind of, when I've been reading this information, the brightness does make a big difference, because normally it's been outdoor scenes that have been very bright that you think, oh, it just looks too real. It's hard to explain. Anyway, so that's what 4K and HDR is. So as I did mention, I replaced both TVs, and initially I went with Samsungs on both, but the one in my bedroom, I wall mounted everything, and I was using it for a few days, and it just started resetting itself, and then it would go into like boot loops almost. So I thought, you know what, let's give Sony a go. I've not had a Sony TV for a long time, if ever. No, I think I have at some point, but we're going back 20 odd years probably. So I think they've got a good name, the Bravia. Not as in just I like the name, as in they've got a good reputation. So let's give this Sony Bravia 43-inch a crack. So John Lewis was very good. They just kind of swapped the TV because they all were being faulty. And then I realised actually, as I was setting things up, that so I've got a Sony TV, I've got a Sony soundbar, and I've got Sony headphones. Am I a Sony fanboy and didn't even realise? I don't know. Anyway, so let's kind of kick things off talking about the hardware. So it is an LED screen. It's got HDR and it's got 4K, as we've said. It also has something that Sony called Motion Flow XR, which basically gives you 200 Hz refresh rate. I don't know if this is all the time, because in the specs it lists as a 50 Hz, comma, Motion Flow XR 200 Hz. So I don't know if it's just when it recognizes it needs to, that it cranks it up to that, or if it's that all the time. I'm not sure. But what obviously that means is sports and fast-moving action look noticeably smoother, sharper, and more natural with reduced blur and judder. I don't watch a lot of sports, or not while it's in the American football off-season. I suppose I watched a few bits of All or Nothing on there, and it does look good. I mean, definitely I don't notice any blur. So I would suggest that works quite well. The TV also has Wi-Fi, so you can cast to it. I can get rid of my Chromecast. No need for that. So that's all very handy. No need to wire, a LAN cable into the back of it. Connects very simply. It's got Bluetooth, which I checked before, because actually I'd never even really thought about TVs having Bluetooth. I don't know why. My last TV was 10 years old, and I used to just plug things into it. So when I realised I had Bluetooth and I could connect to my keyboard, my soundbar, my headphones, all using Bluetooth, no cables, I was like, wow, that's amazing. Then when I was swapping to the Sony, I thought, let me just double check it's got Bluetooth. It did. Brilliant. Then I tried to connect in my Sony headphones. It wouldn't see them. So I did some Googling and found out that it doesn't have A2DP, which is whatever's needed to basically stream sound across Bluetooth. Now, that's, I don't know, I mean, phones have obviously had that for years and years and years and years. You're a TV, why would you not have A2DP? Why would you not let someone Bluetooth connect their headphones? And it boggles my mind, it really does. And for me, it's one of the massive, massive drawbacks. So just bear that one in mind. That, to me, that's quite big. I say it's big. I mean, you can plug in, I've got a little Bluetooth transmitter that I plug in, and actually in some ways it's a bit simpler as long as you want to keep charging it up, because that will then connect to the headphones for me. You plug that in the headphone socket, which the TV does have, and you could argue that it's not a big thing, but just be aware, because I was just surprised. It really shocked me that it didn't have A2DP. The remote control, it's a little complicated for my liking. That's a lot of buttons on there. I should show you the Samsung one. Samsung has two remotes, but one of them is kind of very minimal. You've got the D-pad almost, and an on-off, and a play and a pause, and there's not a lot to it. That, I don't know, there seems too many buttons to me. I do like the Google Play and the Netflix buttons. Kind of surprised that Amazon didn't sort of try and muscle their way in on there. I don't know how that works exactly, but I do watch a lot of content on Netflix, and I've got most of my movies are on the Google Play store, so I quite like that those buttons are there. Saves a little bit of time, but all in all, just, I don't know, generally too many buttons for my liking. If I talk briefly about the design, it's a nice looking TV. It's got nice thin bezels. I quite like the sort of silver line that trails around the edge of the bezel from the sort of the view from the outside. That looks quite nice. It's a little bit odd in that it's got a thick base and then it's got a very thin top, so clearly everything's sort of crammed into the lower part of it. The other issue I was concerned about was wall mounting it. So it's quite annoying they don't include the bolts. That's point one. No TV, the Samsung didn't, the Sony didn't. So I learned from the Samsung, and I was trying to research in advance what bolts I would need. If you're watching to know, it's the M615mm is what I used. And Sony would only tell me, well, we recommend you use the blah, 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 their own mount. But I've already got a very good mount bolted to the wall. Why would I take that off and put a not as good mount on there? So I was a little bit worried that it wouldn't, with the whole thick back and thin top, how is my mount going to fit on? But actually, all the mounting points are at the bottom in the thick bit. They're all very close together. To me, it seems quite odd for a 43-inch TV for the 4 points that are holding it to the wall are so close together. But that's how they are, and actually it works fine. I did wonder if it's like a Visa standard for a monitor even, but even then I think they're closer together than my monitors have. But it works fine. There's a glowing light that comes on at the bottom of the TV when it's turned on. It's not too bright though if you're watching in the dark, that's fine. And there are on and off buttons and up and down. I think the volume, I'd actually tried using them because they're hidden away behind the back. Up and down buttons on the actual TV. Connectivity wise, there are 3 USB 2.0 ports, there are 4 HDMI ports, there's a digital audio which I've got my optical cable plugged into, there's 2 composite inputs, and there's also a headphone socket which I've got my, well, it's an extension, 3-meter extension cable that then my transmitter plugs into under my desk for my headphones. So connectivity wise, generally, you know, as good shape as you would expect. It is interesting that it looks like some of them would be tough to reach if you actually did wall mount it flush to the wall. There are some that are on the back that I think you might struggle to get access to. So it's interesting they've done some of them side and some of them on the back. So on the side though, you still have got quite a bit of connectivity. You should be okay, but again, it's worth checking, well, you hopefully can see in this video what you can and can't access, and just check that would suit your needs if you do wall mount it flush to the wall. The speakers are okay, they sound reasonable. When I first started watching things, I thought, oh, these sound all right. Then I connected my soundbar and thought, you really don't want to be watching high quality programs, you know, high res 4K, and using the built-in TV speakers. Pretty much on any TV, I would think. Get yourself a soundbar. So they're not bad, but still, I would say use a soundbar. So the software obviously is Android TV. It's a bit of a bonus really. I didn't particularly pick it because it had Android TV, but when I realized it did, I thought, oh, that'd be interesting. I get to have a play with that. Initially, I was a little disappointed. It seemed very slow and clunky. It does seem to have speeded up a little bit, but it's still not quite as responsive as some of the other TV OSs that you might use. What I do love is that you can sideload Android apps. So you can put on there almost whatever you want. So you install Dropbox, you connect in your account, you upload an APK to Dropbox, and then you basically install it from there. So it's great to be able to put things on there that allow you to then watch content straight on your TV, no worried about sort of casting or anything like that. So I think that's quite a strong positive. As well as it being a little slow and clunky, you can't really customize the layout on what I would call the home screen, which I think is a bit of a shame with Android. The whole point for me a lot of times with Android is that you can customize it to exactly how you want. So I'd like to get rid of some of the stuff along the top and, you know, just simplify it to just, there's not many different things that I use it for. I would rather just have those front and center on the home screen. So a little bit of a shame that you can't really customize that. But all in all, I think Android TV, yeah, it's not bad actually. So it has speed up. The more I've used it, it seems to have, maybe it's just doing updates and things, I'm not sure, but it does seem to have got a bit quicker as I've gone on. I should point out you get 2 free movies with it. So I picked up the new Blade Runner and the new Jumanji, both in 4K on Google Play. So I think that's part of kind of the Android TV appeal in some ways, that you get those. So overall, I think it's a great image. I love the HDR. As more and more 4K content comes out, perhaps I'll see that, although I'm not convinced on a 43-inch TV you need 4K, but it does look fantastic. I still can't believe you can't connect any sound devices to the Bluetooth. I think that is ridiculous, and to me that's the biggest negative, and would kind of drop a star off the rating, if not 2, to be honest. It just boggles my mind that they didn't do that. I would love to know if there's any particular reason why that is. Having said that, the connectivity is pretty good and kind of makes up for it, so you sort of, maybe they get half a star back in that respect. I do like the design. It's a nice looking TV, sort of no issues there. I'm a little undecided by Android TV, as I've mentioned. A little bit clunky, could do with being able to customize it, but all in all, I love the flexibility that gives you. So should you buy it? I don't know. Hopefully at this point I've given you enough information that you can make your own decision. I would love to hear what you think there in the comments down below. This is my first TV review, so again, let me know what you think, how I've done, and subscribe if you haven't already. Come along to my website, say hello on the forum perhaps. You can give me some feedback there too. But for now, my name's Andy. I'll catch you all again soon.